Alright YouTube, back with another champion rework video. Today we're going to be going over a rework I did for Master Yi. If you guys haven't checked out my other rework videos in the past, I've done everything from Annie, Nasus, Pantheon, Morgana, Kale before she also got reworked. So go check those out. I'll leave a description down for those below. And yeah, check them out. These are all champion concepts, reworks that I've done. Nothing that's from Riot, nothing that's been leaked from Riot. So these are all my own ideas. So hopefully you guys like those. Like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll get right into Master Yi's kit. So with Master Yi, I wanted to do something a little different from what he already is. Most of us don't like Master Yi. He's one of the few OG champions that's left that's very, very outdated. His playstyle is very outdated. Here's why his kit, to me, is outdated. The idea of pressing R and then using Alpha Strike is fine. I think that's fine. And you'll see why I do that, like why I'm saying that when I get into my rework. But I think his kit overall, I think his passive is really, really broken. Especially with the items throughout the years that I've seen, from Devour to the new version of the attack speed jungle item, to having Rage Blade, even the Spear of Shogun. It just doesn't really make him a balanced champion, and he has one particular playstyle, and that's I think what makes him really bad, is the fact that he has one thing. He auto attacks and presses Q. He doesn't have anything else really in his kit that makes him that much of a viable champion. So what I wanted to do was take some of the good things about Master Yi and apply them into a new variation of him. So with his passive, the first one, we all know that as Double Strike. Basically says every few auto attacks, his next auto attack will be a double auto attack. This is a very broken passive, considering he built attack speed, and the more auto attacks you land, the faster this goes. And then you add Rage Blade on top of that, and that that makes every auto attack does 2 auto attacks every 1 auto attack, and it just all goes in together. It makes him completely broken. So I removed that entire old passive, and I gave him a new one called Art of Swords. So this is, like I said, took away the entire old passive, and we gave him a new one. Yi uses, he has studied to perfect the movement and composure of his blades, sharpening his skills with each battle. Yi gains attack speed from building attack damage. So very similar to how Jin gains attack damage from building crit, from building attack speed, that sort of thing. But Master Yi has a permacap on his attack speed. I believe cap is 2.5% attack speed. So his cap would be around 2%. He cannot go over 2%. Once he reaches this cap, Master Yi gains a speed bonus for all of his abilities. So 1, 2, and 3. Similar to how Graves' passive, how he basically can auto attack, and he can reload his auto attacks faster the more attack speed that he gets. Kind of the same thing with Yi. And you'll see kind of why that makes a difference once we get into the actual abilities. But the big part of this is capping his attack speed, and allowing him to gain attack speed from building AD items. This will, he's basically going to want to build mainly AD items. So, IE is fine. Maybe Storm Razor. Any just pure AD item. And I think capping his attack speed is a good thing. And I wish other champions, so there's a few other champions that I think should have a cap on their attack speed. Because once you get to a certain point, you go from being a carry to being an unkillable, like hyper carry raid boss. And I think that's too much for the game. And it does take a lot to get there, but when you have the Chinese boosting strat that we've seen for a while, where they take Master Yi, they take Twitch, they put a Lulu or Taric in the top lane, and then they basically just funnel them, it makes the game very, very broken. It's only for these type of champions too. So I think this will allow him to have a healthier build, where it's not just, he may build some, attack damage items still, maybe a few, attack speed items, but his build will slightly change, especially since Rage Blade wouldn't really work with this passive anymore. So I think it's a good thing, and you'll see once we get into the rest of it here. So, with the first ability, we all know as Alpha Strike, he would Q an area. It would attack up to, I believe, 3 or 4 minions, and then he would resort back to the last minion that he hit, or the last target that he hit. Very, very annoying to deal with. But also, the cooldown on this went down when you would use your auto attacks. So it was a very broken system. So we got rid of that whole ability. And we gave him a new one. This is a skill shot, very similar to how Silas uses his Q, called Masterful Slash. Master Yi slashes the area in front of him twice, leaving behind 2 fissures cut into the air, dealing physical damage and slowing targets who walk through the fissures. After a few seconds, the fissures will erupt, dealing additional damage and applying a stack of Divine Adaptation to enemy champions. So he does have a weird passive stack, which we'll get into why. But this is a good wave clear ability, good for zoning, good for, kiting, good for jungle clearing. The few seconds, I would say maybe 2 or 3, and then this would go down with his passive being capped too. This, I believe, anytime you add a skill shot to a champion, you're giving them instant an increased, skill cap or a skill knowledge of that champion. So the more skill shots you can add, just adding skill shots to a champion, I think is good. Just gives them, more of that skill base play. Also, just having a slowing effect on this, he gains some slight utility, not a ton, but just enough to where this ability seems very useful. Similar to Urgot Q has a slow AoE damage, or Silas Q has a slow AoE damage on it as well. The second ability, we all know as Meditate. This is the ability where he channels, heals himself, which has an AP ratio for scaling. He gains damage reduction, and it's a good way to just heal him. Very bland ability, though. I think as a standalone ability, doesn't really fit into how the game is now. In 2019, I think when the game first came out, it was fine, but now it needs to be slightly changed. So what we did was we removed the entire ability again, and we gave him a new ability called Tactical Deflection. So with this ability, Master Yi spins his blades around him, deflecting all incoming projectile abilities and basic attacks for X seconds, maybe about 2 seconds is what I put. So this blocks projectile abilities. So think Jinx W, Jinx Ult. It also blocks Jinx basic attacks because they are considered ranged. Champions like Jax, champions like Darius, Garen that do not have ranged basic attacks would be able to go right through this. So just kind of keep that in mind. This works similar to Fiora's Riposte, which is a parry skill shot. You basically point the ability in one direction. It does block damage, but if it blocks CC from that particular area, it stuns that target. With Master Yi's Tactical Deflection, same kind of concept. If the parry is pointed towards a target whose attacks are being deflected, Master Yi will dash behind that target champion, granting bonus movement speed, decaying over 2 seconds. So this is an interesting gap closer. When you're playing against somebody who may be trying to escape from you, or who is attempting to, deal some damage from you, kind of poke you from a little bit of a range, and you don't really want to flash, you don't have flash to get in range, or you don't want to use flash, just parrying up this ability, pointing it towards them, they deal damage, you will then have the ability to then dash to them. The dash range, I don't think it would be similar to how Akali's new E works, where she's able to basically go over terrain and as far as you basically can go outside of them, basing. I think maybe 400, 500, 600 range, around that, between the 400 and 600 range. You guys can let me know if you guys want to. I'm not too sure of how the range would work, but I think just giving him a weird version of a gap closer, really cool. This gives him a blocking ability, very similar to how his Meditate did work. However, this is only going to be for a few seconds. And this is to basically, once he gets in, he's able to block maybe 1 or 2, attacks and then go in and start attacking. Or this ability could work where it only blocks the first projectile ability or projectile basic attack. Let me know what you guys think would be a better idea. But I think this ability just gives him a lot more playmaking potential. Makes him just a little more diverse as a champion. We have the third ability, which is Wuju style, and I changed it to the Way of Wuju. So this ability is much different. Just reworked the entire ability again. The old Wuju, it was just a passive active ability where you would activate it and it would give you a passive effect, where he would allow him to do true damage on his basic attacks. Abilities like that, you have, Teemo's Poison, you had Cho'Gath's Vorpal Spikes before they updated it. You have Varus's Blighted Arrow, you have Vayne's Silverbolt. These are all abilities that are really, really outdated, and all of them need to be changed. Having a passive effect ability is just really, really, nowadays would be considered lazy, because all these other champions have so many different abilities. You have an ability that you just put skill points into, and it just gives you stuff. These type of things are better put onto a passive instead of having them as an ability. But regardless, so the Way of Wuju, how this works, this is a very complicated ability. Yi demonstrates the Way of Wuju, heightening his battle abilities for X seconds. So this has a few different effects. So for one, this increases his auto attack range for the first auto attack on a target. Gives him about 150 bonus range. So this is a auto attacking to a target for the first time. When auto attacking that target, he dashes through the air towards their location, similar to how Talon's Q works, marking the target with the Divine Adaptation. The same target can be marked cannot be marked a second time within a few seconds. So think of this very similar to Yasuo's E. So when Yasuo dashes through a target, he has about 9 seconds or so where he cannot dash through that target again. Same thing with Master Yi's Wuju style, or Way of Wuju. He cannot dash attack to that target for about 8-9 seconds. When he does dash to each one of those targets, he will mark those targets with Divine Adaptation as long as they are alive. Once the Way of Wuju expires, or you reactivate the ability, depending on how many marks you have stacked on these targets, you will be granted a small portion of grade-generated health for X seconds. You'll get larger portions for champions. So this is very good for wave clear. Very, very good to be able to heal off, especially when you're in the jungle. You think you're fighting Raptor Camp, you can activate Wuju style, or the Way of Wuju, and just auto attack each target once, and then reactivate the ability. Boom, you just heal a bunch, and then you can continue fighting. Works very, very well for clearing minions. Also, just a very interesting way to be able to dash around in the middle of a fight, even when you're fighting. Let's say you guys are in a 5v5 fight, you're able to dash around to different targets as long as they're within range and they don't have a mark on them. Just gives you a lot of extra playmaking potential. Makes you very, very hard to keep down, which is, I think, the whole point of playing Master Yi, having these really quick, agile swords people, being able to deflect damage and being able to get away from the the really immobile tanks and CC bots. The health would work similar to how Tahm Kench's health, how it goes, how thick skin becomes grayed out. This will be the healing pattern. So the more marks you have, it will generate and continue to go up. And then once you kind of know how much you're going to be healing for, then once the ability either ends or you're able to just reactivate the ability, it will completely heal you for that amount and you'll be good to go. Now the last ability, this one's kind of fun. So Highlander was his old ultimate. He would basically gain a speed boost, as you can see, and I believe higher tenacity, movement speed, and attack speed. And this is just a giant buff to his already very outdated kit of just auto-attacking, and queuing. Now what I did was I took some of his old abilities and put them into one. So this is called Unlocked Potential. So what we did, we removed the bonus attack speed and cooldown reduction effects that this ability offered. Those are gone. What happens now? Master Yi combines his swords together from the hilt, channeling his ancient magics into his blades. This is a 3-second channel, unstoppable, and the channel cannot be canceled. So this actually has a lot of what Meditate used to do. So he gains damage reduction, and not damage reduction. He gains damage reduction, and it becomes unstoppable, which means he cannot be CC'd stop during this. After this 3-second channel, he unlocks his true potential, which lasts X amount of seconds. During this form, Master Yi loses all of his current abilities. Instead, it is replaced with 3 charges, 1 on each skill key, of Alpha Strike. So now you kind of see where my Alpha Strike theory at the beginning of the video kind of came into fruition. So now he can use Alpha Strike, but he can only use it 3 times, and he can only use it when he ults. So he can't use any other abilities once he ults. He can only use this ability. Also, he gains movement speed and tenacity as well. So the idea of this was to make, was to keep Master Yi's identity as, being the champion who can do the Alpha Strike sort of play, but giving him some extra tools and also kind of more of bottlenecking, removing the bottleneck focus on how to play Master Yi. A lot of it was you just build attack speed and you would ult in and Q. Now you have a few other different playmaking strategies to go to before you unlock, your, potential, so to speak. So, but yeah, having an ability like this where you're able to then use Alpha Strike, I think is a little more fair, and you can only use it 3 times. So, they would all have a cooldown on them. I'm sure that somebody who's gonna ask me that in the comments, because I didn't have enough room to put it on here. After you use Alpha Strike, you have to wait another 3 seconds to use the next Alpha Strike, and that time does not go down with levels. It stays at 3 seconds, or it may go down to like 2 seconds or something. But yeah, that is my Master Yi rework. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, concerns, please leave them in the comments below. Would love to hear what you guys think. I will also post this via my Reddit forum on the League of Legends champion concept page, which I'll leave a description down for that. A link in the description below. That way you guys can look at that and just kind of see it from a font style, I guess. I don't know, without me talking. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And let me know if there's any champions you would like to see me rework in the future. Would love to get some new ideas. And I'll see you guys in the next video.